All right, guys. I'm gonna go over a couple things with you guys. I see at least three. I see at least three. One, two, three. Three tickers that I want to go over. Really four because I'm gonna go over NQ as well. Because the open on that was wild. Um, but first I want to go over this. First I want to go over this. This is Microsoft. So this trade was taken by a student today. Um, this right here is yesterday's price action. Okay, so right here what we do is obviously we draw our Fab 4, but you can see how the state of price is wide. The state of this SMA is wide here. You see, it's not narrow. Even this is neutral. It's not narrow, but it's neutral. But you can see how it's wide here, and then the 20's pointing down going into is after this right here, it's the open. So the 20's pointing down, and this 200's kind of going up. We like to have a flat 200 and a 20 kind of right above it. That's ideal. So automatically, this is not an ideal Fab 4 because if we draw it, we're going to draw it like this. Because you got to get the 20 in there. That's not ideal. It's not a good Fab 4 because it's a square. It's a long box. We want it to be sideways. We want that to be narrow if we can, right? Because we want to move after. So this is what I saw before the market opened, right? Now let me show you what it looks like after the market opens. Boom. So automatically it looks better right after the market opens. So you're thinking, okay, that's not too bad, but you have to draw the Fab 4 before the market opens, and this is what it looked like before. And I wouldn't draw that Fab 4. So that's not something that I would do, right? But after it opened, you saw that it did look decent. The price action, as far as opening in what position, did it open in position 1? Did it open in position 2? Did it open in position 3? If you're my student, you'll know what that is, but it opened in 2 here, which is no problem. I have no problem going short. I have no problem continuing with the trend. Whenever we're in 2 or we're in 1, that's exactly what you do. When you're in 3, price could reverse and come back up because you're opening so far away from this Fab 4 here. So we were in position 2, so I could be okay with taking this trade, but you can see how this wouldn't be an A plus because there's not a narrow state with a flat 200 and a flat-ish 20 going into the open, and then we didn't open in position 1, which would have been right underneath the Fab 4, something like this. That would have been more ideal for a longer continuation down move. But since we opened in 2 right there, this could be a B. I could give this a B probably. Now that I go back and I look at it, probably be a B setup. Um, yeah, probably be a B setup. Um, but as you can see, after price opened, right, we got that power bar confirming that downward movement, and then we have right here this white breaks the bottom of this green here, which is an entry event technically. If you wanted to wait for price to kind of play out a little bit, that would have been fine. But if you entered, that would have been fine too. You have a 20 that's trending down now away from the flat 200 coming out of this state, but it's not narrow. It's not a real narrow state. So will price really move in that direction? You know what I mean? Um, and then boom, right there. That was a pretty good one. Once you got this, it pretty much confirmed that it probably is going to move down. That selling pressure is really coming in there, and that resistance is heavy into that power. Price retraced into that power. I have a video on that. 50% of the power. Price retraces into that and gives you an entry signal. That's something in itself. But anyways, once you get that, you place the stop directly above this one or this one. So let's just say you missed this one and you got in on this one. Your stop would go here, right? And you would enter right at the break of the green. So right like here would be your entry. You just enter, no close, no nothing. You just enter, and then your stop would be here. And once you break the low down here and you start taking some profit off, now your stop is this trending 20. Once you're down here, and then as you can see, price continued down. Gave you a nice drop to the lows 397.7 there. Once you broke the 20 right there, textbook stuff, you're out of the trade, and you caught this move on the 20 coming down out of this. We opened bearish, right? So this is a B setup just because of the state of the SMAs going into the open, and then the location of the opening candle in location 2 versus location 1. So that would have been a B setup. A student took that trade, made some decent gains on it. So I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at that trade. It worked out. But if you're sticking to the A pluses, I'm just trying to identify them for you guys and kind of show you the difference in those little small things that can make or break the trade. So also I wanted to show you kind of the same thing here, right? So you can see here like this, the Amazon here. This state is something it's neutral. It's not narrow, but it's neutral, right? This is obviously wide, but over here is narrow. But okay, so this is a neutral state. You can take trades from neutral state. Neutral's the max. You can't go anything. You can't go wide. You can neutral, narrow, neutral. Narrow's ideal, A plus. Neutral's, it can happen. So it's use that to your own discretion. But anyways, after price opens, boom, it's pretty much the same thing. It's pretty much the same thing, you know. It shortens that Fab 4 box and makes you feel like this is super narrow. But it's really not, and the 200 is pointing down versus coming down like this and then catching itself and flattening. It's not like that. That's what we want to see, and then the 20 kind of right on it. That's ideal. But we're kind of pointing down, and the 20 was trending down away, and then it came back up. So it's not ideal, the SMA state here. But you did get the open. So the one position is right underneath. 2 position is about right here. 3 position is if you open way down here. So if that would have opened like this. Boom. Right, so you're about in 2 here, so I could, okay. It's a little bit pushing it here, but if you wanted to, if it had a nice retracement, I could see a decent entry. And as we kept going right there, that's when it gave you somewhat of a decent entry. Nice break of that green candle there. Right next to that 20 that's trending down like that. And then price continued to ride that 20 down and made those lows at 220. So if you grabbed here, you were able to catch just this move right here, just based on that color change entry event right near that 20 that's trending downward with an open below the Fab 4. Right, so all of those are good, but the Fab 4 state wasn't the best, and the location that price opened wasn't the best. So you just kind of take these at your own discretion, because these wouldn't be A plus in my book, but they were still, I could still see why one would take them. So I wanted to show you guys that. And the last one on the option side of things was Google. Now this is what I wanted to show you guys. Okay, right here, rectangle Fab 4, decent, right? The 200's pointing down, so I don't like that. I don't like that. 200, the 20's not terrible. It's kind of coming up a little bit, you know, not bad, but the 200 is pointing down, so that's not my favorite. So you wait on the open, right? Wow. It opened so far away that it scrunched these down so much. 1, 2, 3. When you open in position 3 like this, if you get a break of this high, this could possibly lead to a continuation back to the upside to try to fill this overnight gap. Not saying it's going to fill the whole gap and you're going to retrace all in price, but usually imagine this is a big candle or a big move, you know, with multiple candles. I mean, do you think it's just going to keep going all day? You know, like eventually you're going to get some pullback here. A big move happened overnight. So that's kind of what happened on Google. made that little low right there, but really didn't have any follow through to the downside from the opening candle. There was really no break on this green candle here of this low besides a tick. That's how you got that mark. But there was really no follow through. So you take note of that already acting as a foundation and a support there. And then you're pretty much looking at these highs. And once the high is taken, this is power. See how solid this bar is? It's power in there. No wicks, bottom or top, barely. There's power in there. Boom. Boom. Same thing for here. Solid bar. Solid bar. You like to see that. So this is an example of when price opens in that position 3. These are the type of trades you look for versus color change entry to the downside, because that's your gap is too far from where price opened to where price closed. So we have to take note of that position 3 at all times. You can get tripped up if you don't remember that position 3 is moving upside versus continuation to the downside. So I just wanted to show you guys that, an example of that. Once we got to that 20, you can see what happened. This is how strong the 20 is. Color change entry, even after opening in position 3 and having nothing but pullback and retracement from that last night's gap. Even after all this green power right here, you get right to the 20, you get a color change right there. And you could be in profit on this. There's another one right here next to the 20 and then made lows. Now, obviously, we broke back up eventually, but I'm just saying right here we broke back up. But I'm just saying from this 20, you came down. I mean, that's a drop there. Pretty much stopping this power. So that's something to take note of. And now, obviously, we're back in the 20. But yeah, so I just wanted to show you guys that, a couple examples of of that location versus the open, and then an A+ setup versus a B or a C setup. So the last thing I want to do is just show you guys the futures. My face will go away for a second, but right here. So this was this morning at like 7. You see the times? This is like 5 in the morning. Oh no, you can't see that. I'm sorry. Okay, so that's like, so right here is 7 a.m. So this is 7 right here. Obviously, we know price opens at 9:30 where I'm at. So you're a couple hours off, right? But then we started to get this, and I started to take note because I was like, you know what? You can see here we're in a nice narrow state, and I like this. I want to keep this. That way we go into the open, I can catch a trending move. So that's my plan here. But then I started to see this and the volume increase a little after 7, and I was like, you know, what in the world's going on? So I just waited and waited because I didn't know if price was going. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know if price was going to act weird. If once it opened, it was going to come back or whatever the case may be. But as you can see here, there's no entry on this one here because the white didn't break the low of that green. So I wouldn't have entered here on this short, even though we're coming from a narrow state and that 20 is starting to trend down and away from that flat 200 above it. This is perfect. This is perfect, but there's no entry event. So I can't force a trade. So I'm waiting and I'm waiting and I'm waiting, and you get nothing. You get nothing there. That drops nothing. And then look. Right there. Drop here. Stopped out. It's a good thing I didn't take that trade, huh? The reason why is because what's with this weird influx in volume? What's with this weird price action a few hours before market open? I'm more hesitant than willing to jump into something like that. I'm more so saying, okay, let me wait on the open, see if price starts trending in that downward direction, and maybe I can get an entry. But as you can see, once we hit, where are we at, 9:30, boom, we're in a trap zone. prices inside of the 200, inside the 20, we call that the TZ. That's the trap zone. Whenever price is inside of there, you do not trade it. So at the open, I wouldn't have traded anything. And then you started trending down like this right here, but the state is not narrow. At this point, the state is, I mean, I guess you could say neutral here, maybe, but then it starts trending down, and this is when you would want to look for entries. And the only entry you even could have got was a small scalp here down to these lows. That's really it. Other than that, I wouldn't have taken anything, and I really wouldn't have taken that. But the reason why that there's no entries, there's no solid price action for that is because it really happened at 7. You know, obviously some days you get an entry, some days you get something like this where you don't get that entry. But a lot of the days you will get a white takes out a green and you're in this to the downside. But we didn't get that today, and usually we get it at the open, not 2.5 hours before the open. So it was a little wonky today with how the futures opened and how everything went. So that's why I didn't take any of those trades on the futures. I just kind of let it ride, and we'll come back tomorrow. Hopefully we'll be in a more of a narrow state, and see. I might mess around with gold at the Asia session tonight, but we'll see. But yeah, I just want to show you guys a couple of those. I will post this in the server as well for you guys. So.